Quickly, we're talking about UK visa sponsorship jobs, and everything I'm going to be sharing is just with respect to the things that I have learned as a person. With respect to the things I've learned as a person. Please, Willie, you can help me mute all again if you hear any background noise, please. I'm giving you the admin rights. Please assist me on that. So So like I said, I'm introducing myself. I just completed my master's degree at GCU with the September batch who graduated recently. That was when I completed, but at the same time, I've been applying for jobs since I actually got to the UK. So I actually got quite a number of experiences on the journey. My first discussion would be the website I focused on and why I focused on this website. The first one is this Find a Job, because I find out that they have quite a lot of government jobs, and which involves civil service and also the NHS. So I focused on that because I realized that government agencies were more willing to sponsor candidates rather than corporate companies. A lot of corporate companies will not even attend to you once you tell them you're on a student visa. So I focused on find a job, and this was the one I used most of the time. Then I saw a lot of opportunities too around the NHS jobs. This is NHS England jobs. So why is this important? England has a population of about 55 million. Scotland has a population of about 5.5 million. So when you look at that, when it comes to NHS, you realize that it's likely the NHS in England is 10 times bigger than the one in Scotland. And that actually means more vacancies. So remember and extend your search as much as you can. I applied for a few jobs too on NHS Scotland, but I was denied because I didn't have a driving license, I didn't have a car. But I had more options within NHS England because there were more jobs open there. I had a lot of opportunities also from LinkedIn. I had a lot of chats, a lot of calls. However, I got denied on many occasions because they were looking for network security engineer. As a network security engineer, their understanding is that you're going to be handling sensitive data, and they were requesting for security clearance, which means the kind of security clearance that I must have been in the UK for the past 5 years. And that was a major disqualification and a major discouragement several times, that I lost opportunities there. I made so many attempts on Indeed also. But what I do and my approach to Indeed is that if you see a job on Indeed and you want to apply, my advice is go to the website of that company and put up your application there directly. Sometimes Indeed will tell you to do exams, to write tests that will not even count and just waste your time. So if you really see something, the reason for Indeed is to let you understand the trends and a lot of things about jobs in the UK, but you don't have to apply through Indeed. So that's my recommendation on that. Then most importantly, one thing I find out most people don't do, they don't turn on alerts on this website, or they don't follow what is going on there. I recommend that once you get on this website, ensure you turn on the alerts. And when you receive the alerts, I know Indeed will send you every day, find a job. You can have weekly or monthly alerts or daily alerts. Ensure you try and go through the alerts to understand what is going on. Okay, I will talk more about this and my experience later on. So another important aspect is this. Please, I'm hearing noise again. Please, can you help me mute everyone? Another important aspect is this, which I also learned, is that resume is highly critical. And I want to give you an example. When I was in Nigeria, this was my resume, which I put in here as the old resume. As a network engineer, we have duties. So I just put on the duties there. Configured and manage Cisco router, installing, did this. So that was the general thing you will find on my resume. Immediately I got to the UK, I realized that it wasn't going to work because I was getting so many rejections, so many denials. So I engaged a writing service. Then I spoke with quite a number of people that were professionals in the UK, you know, those who knew better than me. Some of them were my friends, some of them were my former colleagues. I put a call through to them. Some of them I collected their CVs to have an idea of how their CV looked like. And I realized that, you see, this kind of thing that you just put generic duty, you did this, you did that. Anybody can come up and put it there. And recruiters are tired of this. Hiring teams are not, they are not, you know, imagine 100 people applying for a job and everybody putting something like this. Nothing stands you out. So it's not really a good idea to go with generic CVs. Make sure your CV is practical based as much as possible. What do I mean? Look at what I'm putting here. Okay, in fact, under my CV, I had a section when the writing service helped me. There was a section for key achievements. There was a section for generic duties. Key achievements, like the kind of project I managed, worth over $200,000. The size of the team I managed, okay, then the goals we achieved or the successes we had as a team under my leadership were included in a resume just to make me stand out. Then technically, this is practical base side, which I want everybody to consider in their resume. You know, what were the problems you solved? Apart from you installing this, installing that, or doing this, can you try and explain the things you solved in a way that you are not too, it's not too bogus and it's straight to the point and can really catch the attention of recruiters. Like myself saying, I detected UDLD, you know, and I resolved it in a certain way. This kind of thing, I can tell you, check so many CVs on LinkedIn or Google. I can assure you that 80%, you're not going to find this thing on other people's resumes. So my challenge to you is this, and my recommendation is, if you don't have this kind of thing, what should you do? Look for those who have this kind of job responsibilities, either your friends or people you know or people you connect with on LinkedIn, and try to get these suggestions from them. Sometimes if you get someone to explain it to you, there are things you can do. Everything I wrote here, if you have studied network engineering, I can explain to you, you can put it to your CV, and I can tell you, you can defend it anywhere that you did this in a company or on a job. So liaising with people on the field will be really critical at this stage. Please don't shy from networking. Don't shy away from talking to people. Don't shy away from asking critical questions from people who are on the field. Secondly, LinkedIn profile enhancement is also very important. Recruiters will go on your CV, they will go on your LinkedIn profile, they will check, compare what you put on the website and also what is there. They will check it. Every time I see people spy on my LinkedIn profile because I'm not on premium. So ensure that the things you are putting there, they are at least close or they match so that there are no varieties there. And ensure that you enhance your profile also, because it can fetch you jobs. After I got a job, I got many people, many recruiters still writing to me, you know, to come and do a job all around me where I was living, but I couldn't because I already had a job that I wanted to start. So you will get a lot of jobs easily if you enhance your profile, your job title, the things you do, your skills. Those are the things that recruiters will be looking for when they are searching from their own end. Then if you pay for some services, they will tell you what you put in your introduction to attract more recruiters to your profile. And I tell you, it can fetch you. Sometimes I get about 5 to 6 chats on LinkedIn every week, sometimes up to 10 people looking for, you know, looking for people to hire for certain roles. So please understand that cover letter enhancement. Then if you don't mind, I will encourage you, if you can't pay for a writing service, you will get between £20 to £100. You can look for what is within your budget and at least do something to enhance your profile. Then the last one I will talk on this is to ensure you tailor your resume. based on each role you're applying for. You see, applying for jobs in the UK is not a generic thing that you just click apply. All this easy apply on LinkedIn and Indeed actually don't work. Easy apply, you just drop. Maybe for top professionals, top managers, it might be good. But if you're still starting your career, I don't think it's the right thing to do. Carefully tailor every CV you submit. You don't have to apply for 10 jobs every week. But the few ones you really see that you can do, take your time, ensure that the skills, the description, your job title and everything matches what they are looking for. And don't submit a 4-page or a 3-page CV. The maximum page you should submit, maximum number of pages should be 2. Please don't exceed 2 pages, because somebody told me when I got to Scotland, I went for a counseling. I went to meet a career counselor, Skills Development Scotland. They have an office in Greenock. So I went to meet one of the staff there, a lady, and she told me something very important. She said, on the average, recruiters don't spend up to a minute on a CV. They scan through it within a few seconds. If it goes with what they want, they select it for the next round. If it doesn't, that's all. It's gone forever. So the opportunity you have, you're not going to have it forever. And you don't have time, the luxury of time. So whatever you're applying for, please take your time and give it your best shot. Ensure what you have on your resume, what you're submitting, matches closely with what they are asking for. The next one is the roles. Why I have to talk on the roles is that a lot of us are starting afresh. Some of us are just transitioning into IT. It might be helpful for you to start from the lower level roles. Why? Because in many organizations, all you need to do is to get in. For example, like the NHS, all you need to do is to step in. Once you step in, you have 2-3 months experience. I know it's always a jolly ride. And that's the way it happens almost anywhere or any country. It's always the first job you need to put in so much effort. Once you are done, after that, you can grow within the same organization and you can exit and go to other organizations if you still have things you're looking out for. So roles like desktop support, IT support, graduate IT roles, IT technician, don't mind the definition, but have CVs that are tailored to that role, standard CVs that can get you the job, and apply for those roles. If you are senior, then you can go for higher positions, higher managerial positions. Remember this also, and that's part of why I strictly recommend applying for many jobs on the NHS website. I can share this slide after the meeting so that you can get all those links. Why I recommend NHS jobs is that most IT jobs on the NHS website, NHS Scotland, NHS England, most of them are band 3, band 4 and above. So if you can get an IT job with NHS, you are most likely going to get sponsored. For the NHS, they only don't sponsor any role that is band 1 and band 2. So I think it's worth the investment, the time investment, if you can do that. And once you register on their website, you will see the same role pop up in multiple trusts, especially for NHS England. Like the job I am working, where I'm working now, I got the interview, I got the same advert for the same role in about 7 other trusts. Or, okay, apart from the one I'm working for, I think about 5 other trusts. NHS Scotland, NHS Exeter, NHS King's Trust. I got about 5 or 6 of them. So I kept on applying, but the main thing was that every other one was asking for a driving license and a car, which I didn't have. So most of them didn't even invite me for interview, except just 2. So out of the 2 that invited me, the first one I went for, they wrote me that I didn't qualify for the next phase. However, I learned a lot from the process. The questions they asked me, they gave me live devices to configure. I didn't sleep well. I took coffee. I had a headache. I struggled. I made some mistake. When the interview ended, my eyes came down. I remembered everything I was supposed to do correctly, but I learned a lot. I took money by train down to Liverpool. When you're working 20 hours per week and you take a train from Scotland to Liverpool, come back and so on. I spent money, I spent time, everything. I didn't get it, but I learned a lot. That's the beauty of it. Please take every opportunity to learn. Even if the recruiter calls you and is telling you rubbish, just be patient and listen so that you can learn what the trends are and you can get better. When you get better, you can decide not to pick calls. You can decide to ignore recruiters, but take every opportunity you need to learn. Please, can you help me on mute? I'm still hearing some other background noises again. I want to appeal to everyone online. Please, if you know you're in a noisy environment, can you please help us stay muted so that I can concentrate? I'm using a headphone and, it gets into my head somehow. I'm sorry about that. So please take every opportunity you have to learn and don't mind the rejections or the comments or the unfortunately and so on and so forth. So I learned a lot. Now, what happened was that by the time I had the next opportunity to attend the next interview, the questions were not exactly the same, but my confidence and exposure had increased. So the first thing that impressed my manager was that I knew there was going to be an ID check, but my manager didn't write me ahead to come with my ID card or my international passport. But I already knew that having done interview in Liverpool before. So when I got there and they wanted to ask questions, and the first thing I did was to bring out my passport and BRP, my manager was blown away. He was impressed that even his assistant managers told me, oh, you've already impressed him by what you did. You came with your ID that he didn't ask for. What's the emphasis again? Attend as many interviews you can and learn from past failures. Don't get discouraged. Number two, prepare for practical or field-based questions. When they sit with you, they want to know what you did, not just what is on your resume. So what you're going to be telling them would be your own input on everything you did. On the practical scenarios you had, the problems you solved, you are going to be sharing your own impact, the part you played, how you led the team, or if you're not the leader of the team, how you suggested to your manager, and your manager saw that that was okay, and it led to the entire success of the team. So emphasize that as much as you can. Then for those of us who are still studying, I want you to understand that this is part of the reasons why NHS is highly recommended. If you apply for a job with the NHS, you can apply 3-4 months to your graduation. Now, when you pass the interview, it's going to take about 2 to 3 months before you resume. So by the time you are ready to resume, you are done with your school. But if you wait till you graduate, you don't have much time again. Mine was a risk, and I can tell you, I got favor from God. There are many testimonies I really can't share on this platform, but I strongly recommend focus on NHS, focus on government jobs, and also private. But if possible, I recommend, NHS, because they will not discriminate that you're a student. They will not send you an email. If they see that you have 3 months, 2 months, 4 months to the end of your program, they are not likely to disqualify you because of that. So that's why they are very open and they are good when it comes to applying for jobs. So if you apply, if you get the job and you are not yet done with school, they can sponsor your visa immediately. You are not terminating your studies, but you can change to a skilled worker visa 3 months to the beginning of your job. So if you check the skilled worker website on the UK website, it's clearly written there that you can apply for a skilled worker visa 3 months to the commencement of your job. So this is also important for you to know. Then this I'm going to discuss again at the end of the day. I want us to see how we can have a stronger networking opportunity, where we are. Why I'm saying this is that sometimes you could have the opportunity to receive whispers from someone in a team or in a company. You can also be attending the same interview someone had previously attended. So if we have a group, if we have a way of uniting together, you can post it and somebody can reach out to you, or you can get someone to reach out to. that can prepare you better for every interview. Why? The truth is you may not get 50 interview sessions before you get a job. But the few ones you're able to get, please understand that any interview opportunity you secure, you need to give it your best. And you need to do as much as you can to ensure you ace it and you get the job, because you may not get so many interview opportunities. So I'm going to be coming back after the second speaker, and ask for suggestions. Do we want to go for a group? Do we want to remain where we are? Do we want to join a group? Do we want to have a platform where we can interact better and have more frequent webinars to help us grow together in our career? So this is just the few things I have learned as a person, which I'm also sharing. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for taking time to listen. I'll be bringing up the second speaker now. My second speaker's name is Olawale Komolafe. He's a Nigerian, he's a manager, and he lives in Sheffield, England. Please join me to welcome the second speaker, Olawale Komolafe. Can you please unmute?
You're welcome.
Thank you. You're welcome, Olawale. You're welcome. We can't hear you. It's like
You are welcome.
You're welcome, bro.
do you want to share screen? Okay, are you there? We can't hear you.
Can you remove the earphone and check maybe the connection first? Check directly with the laptop if you are using laptop.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm sure he's working on it. Just a few seconds, I'm sure he'll be able to come.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
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 Yes. Hear you very well.
I can hear you as well. Thank you so much, Mr. Afolabi, and it's a privilege to be here. You called me, so I'm not. I'm not yet. Well, I'm a manager actually, but not that. Not the level that some people might think it to be yet. Okay, so I will just run through as we discussed, Mr. Folabi. I will just run through my story, um, my journey in the IT world, so to say, in the UK. Um, hopefully shouldn't take more than 10 minutes. Okay, so thanks for the presentation. I'll probably just build on what you've shared, Mr. Falabi. So I wouldn't repeat anything you've said earlier, or probably just lay emphasis on the few that I think would be very helpful or was very helpful to me. So I came into the UK last year, October, 2022. I came in on a dependent visa, so it means I could work full time. I can't fully relate with people who say they have the 20 hours limit. Sorry about that. I didn't have that barrier in my own case, so I could work full time and I could work for as much as I wanted to work. But I'd say that I was at the time about to transition from a role called service management in IT. I was about to transit into DevOps, or what you might just call IT support, so to say, at the time while I was in Nigeria because I was with Islamic IBTC, also in IT. So I was already very much in the IT world, but it was a different ball game when I came here. So on getting here, I thought, oh, well, since I already done some trainings in Nigeria and I had some experience into this new role, let me begin to target DevOps roles and roles along the lines of, you know, uh, software engineering, so to say, generally. But I think that's the first lesson I would like to share with all of us. Turns out that for the next 2 months, that's November, December, all I kept on getting was rejection emails. Sorry, 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 sorry. And up until January, I was still getting those rejection emails. And then I then told myself, okay, you can't keep doing the same thing and expect, a different result. So probably I just need to retrace my steps and focus on my strengths. So I decided to go back. Okay, I'll just work. It's not a bad thing to transition to, the what you call the technical roles. I probably just need to get into the system, which already I have some experience for. So I basically just spoke to myself to say, okay, you're a professional, you know how to do this thing in a certain area in IT. Why not just focus on that area and begin to apply to jobs in that role? So from January, I decided to start applying on the roles I was already into in Nigeria, which was service management. Is actually a non-technical role and it's a role that I think just to add to what Mr. Valabi already said, if you're looking to transition into IT, it can be one of those roles you can look into if you don't have a technical background or an IT background, because a service manager basically does the job of managing an IT team from the perspective of meeting the strategic goals of the team in terms of ensuring that our services are up to date 247. So most of the skills that are required in an IT service management role are more soft skills than technical skills. So you need to be very good at communicating, you need to be very good at following up with people, you need to be very good at understanding, that's empathy, so to say, understanding what the developers or what the technical guys are going through. So you need to be you need to be that people person. So, and that's not a skill that you need to know how to code to do, right? It's a skill that anyone can actually develop. So, um, of course, you also need to understand the technical bit, but you don't necessarily need to be the technical guy hands-on to be able to effectively fulfill the role. So, you might want to look into IT service management, and the certification for that is called the Popular ITIL. So it's actually one of those roles that I think anybody in IT usually tend to, sorry, one of the certifications anyone in IT usually tend to have to get. But you can also major in it and be a service manager if you'd like to look into that area. I just thought to bring that up. I've done that for 4 years in Nigeria, and just before I left Nigeria, I was looking to, okay, now I'm the expert in service management. I want to do much more than service management. So I was looking to go into DevOps and ultimately into software engineering. So I'd spoken with the manager there. It was looking all good until I got the opportunity to come to the UK. So that had to be truncated, so to say. So um, I going back to my story in January, I stopped applying to DevOps roles. In case you don't know what DevOps is, it's just basically like you a role for people who deliver IT projects into production lines where users can actually use them. So in a more layman term, they are the guys that deploy applications, right? In most organization settings. So I was looking into that role, but I decided to go back to let me just go back to my strength, and then I started applying for my IT service management roles because I was the expert in it. I knew a lot about it. So he, that was January, right? By March, I didn't get a role exactly in service management, but I got a role in IT support, and I think that's one of the things that Afolabi had mentioned in that slide where he listed all the roles you can look at if you're just transitioning into IT. IT support is also one of those ones. It's not so technical. If you're very good with your phones and your laptop, if you know how to do one or two things on your laptop, you can actually do an IT support role. If you know how to basically boot a system, let it come on, install softwares, and check out what's going on. So it's actually something anyone can do. So I got into the role because, anyways, I'd done that before IT service management I wasn't only applying to service management roles. I had done IT support in Stanbic. I had also done IT service management. So those were the two roles I was actually applying to because, like I said, I focused on my strengths. I focused on the experience I already had, and then I started applying to those. And I got an IT support job. I had gotten several interviews, but I picked this because it paid the highest. It was at Sheffield Hallam University. So I got that in March, started sometime in April. But remember, I was doing it side by side IT service management. So while I was getting interviews and support, I was also getting interviews for service management. And I had gotten where I work now, that's the DWP interview, sometime in February as well. So I interviewed both roles. I eventually got around the same time. But DWP didn't get back, DWP rather, that's the Department for Work and Pensions, didn't get back to me up until May. So I'd even forgotten about them, interestingly. I'd forgotten about them. And then they called me while I was already in the IT support role. And obviously, it was a better salary, it was a better role, better level. And it was a no-brainer that I'd have to leave um, the IT support role to join them. So by May, I got that and I resumed later in September. It's another story. I don't want to talk about it as to why it took so long to resume, but most of us who have been in the UK would understand that they do a lot of background checks before you can resume. So it took a lot of time before I resumed. But to cut the long story short, that's where I am today. And been working as a senior IT service manager at the DWP Digital Arm. So DWP is a very vast department, but they have like their IT arm. It's called DWP Digital. So that's where I work as an IT service manager. So that's my story in say 10 minutes. But to now, what advice would I give people looking to transit, people who are just new in the UK or people that are looking to come into the UK? I would say it's you could just take one or two tips from what I said already in terms of focusing on your strengths if you're already in IT, and if you're not in IT, if like I said, you have good soft skills where you've been able to interact with a lot of people, where you've been able to work in teams and ensure things work, should I say, you're able to connect or mediate between different things, you can look into IT service management. You could have done that in a different capacity outside IT. um, that's something you can build on if you're looking to come into IT. People who have done things like project management, not necessarily IT, can also look into that in the IT space. So it's easier. Generally, I observed that your chances of getting a job increases when you're able to demonstrate any form of experience in that job. It doesn't have to be IT, as long as you've had any form of experience in that job. Like I said, someone who had a project management experience in civil engineering is today working as an IT project manager because he simply had done project management in some spheres that's a bit different, but it's still project management. Some of the same theories applies. It will surprise you to know that there are many of those kinds of jobs in the IT space. Service management, project management, product management, and the likes of them. IT support, like we said, if you've done customer service, you would probably have very good points to score when you're looking at IT support, because that's a lot of things you do in IT support. 90% of the job in IT support, I tell people, is customer service. Then the 10% is the technical bit where you're like, okay, the person calls in to say this laptop is bad. And you don't know it, but you can look it up on Google, ask a colleague, really. You don't have to know everything. Just make sure you can package yourself well enough to pass the interviews. And speaking on interviews, I would say that is critical. You need to also learn to communicate your experiences. I think Aflabi touched on that point, and that's very important. Make sure that you're talking about yourself, because usually when you cook up stories, it sometimes doesn't come across as original. Somehow they get to know. I don't know, but if you're able to tell them what you've actually done, you'll find out that even yourself you flow easier. And a perfect example is my current job. The feedback from my boss was that I was so original. Like, they flowed so well with all I was saying, and I didn't sound like I was cooking it up. It was like it stuck with him so much, and then he was like, this is the guy for him. So you need to learn to tell your stories properly, tell it to suit the job. Of course, you tailor your stories to what you're applying for, what you're being interviewed for. It really helps. And have a lot of those stories. Just think back. Like that's one thing I did. I had a Word document where I wrote out the various stories of all the things I did, all the things I achieved. I think that's what Afolabi was saying about things you actually did. Yeah, it's critical. Have a Word document where you like write them out, and then if you're applying for a job, tailor those stories to that job. And that's one thing I did because like I said, I applied for IT support and service management, and what I basically did was tailor all my stories to each of them. It's the same story, but tailored towards IT support, tailored towards service management. There was a time I was applying for a product management role. I tailored my stories also towards those. So it's important that you know how to communicate your stories to meet the requirements on that job. So that connection is where I think um, I missed it initially, those failure times, because I must confess, I got some interviews in December, but I just did not communicate them. And like Afalabi said, it's like practice as well. So the more interviews you do, the better you get at it. So I didn't just pass the DWP interview for the first time. No, in fact, the IT service management role I got was the third interview with DWP. I'd interviewed two other roles before that with DWP itself. So this was like the third one. In fact, when the HR guy called me, he was like, he had seen that I had applied so many. He was like, "Ah, wow, that you must have really persevered." I said, yes, I really wanted to join you guys. He said, finally, and then I am there today. And really, why should you join the civil service? I think Aflabi has overemphasized it's because it's easier for you to get sponsored in the government space generally. Yeah, so that's the reason why you should look at those. Doesn't mean that you don't get sponsored jobs in the private space, but just that it may not be as easy as it is there. It sounded odd because most of the people I spoke with said the opposite when I came in. They were like, look at the private space, but I'll tell you my journey, my discovery. It turns out that the public space had more of those roles, and if, like he said, the IT roles tend to be a bit more of the higher levels. So unlike NHS where you have the bands, in the civil service, what you have is levels. So we have my role, for instance, was a senior executive officer level. Prior to that is an higher executive officer level. So from the HEO, that's what it's called, and above, you tend to get sponsored roles there. And most of the IT jobs, if not all, are usually from the HEOs and above. So you should look at civil service roles as well. And it's not just DWP, there are various other departments. I did an interview with the Department for Education, and I did one with DEFRA. So you want to look at those departments. There are several of them, and they have lots of jobs. Really, there are jobs here in the UK, I must tell you. So, but you just need to look at it. So then the last thing will then be on how I eventually got the interviews. I think is that you must focus a lot on, I don't use the word focus, sorry, you must continue to apply. Don't stop applying, because no matter how much you no matter how much you think you're good, the amount of rejections you might get, I'm sorry, will make you begin to doubt yourself sometimes. I thought I was really brilliant until and I'm not joking, I literally got 67 rejections before I got my first.
Wow.
Congratulations, welcome, we want like to interview you, like to meet you. It took, I had to count it because I was pissed. I
Wow.
was mad. I thought I would be a whole me. Yeah, no, I was, so basically a friend was like, yeah, UK would actually humble you, and I experienced that in 3D because I got so many rejection emails. So don't give up. You just need to keep applying, really. And
Yeah.
when you see that, we are sorry, take it as okay. You just need to do it. You need to do it again. Let's do this again. So that's what I just kept on doing until, like I said, I got the first interview in February. So keep at it, just keep applying, basically keep applying. But of course, now I wouldn't say keep applying like blindly. Make sure that you keep improving on your applications as well. Tweak your CVs, improve it. Okay, what is it that I can do differently? How should I present this, so, which I did a lot. So I developed my CVs over time. I developed my cover letters over time, and I think for DWP they are very particular about your cover letter. which is very important. You need to make sure that you have a good cover letter, well presented, good introduction, and of course, like we've overemphasized, focus on your strengths in it. Don't say big things. Talk about the actual things you did. So most of the things I said in my interview were things I had already written down in my cover letters. So as much as possible, write those things that you've done in your cover letter, right? How you're able to achieve this, and use milestones, use statistics, use numbers, use figures. That's what they want to see. They want to see actual measurable achievements that you've done. So I did all of those, but like I said, I didn't get the final winning cover letter at once. It built up over time. I did a lot of reviews. As I was getting each rejection, I was checking what I could change. I was comparing with the requirements on the job. So every advertisement would have a job requirement. Do that comparison a lot and make sure that it meets whatever it is that company is saying. Because for instance, IT service management in Stanbic IBC is a bit different from DWP. It's a bit different from the Department for Education. So there's always that minor differences in requirements or objectives. So you need to like tweak your CVs and cover letters to suit that particular company you're applying to. It sounds like a lot of work, but yes, that's how I like to end my story, to say that applying for a job is a full-time job because you need to keep applying, you need to keep reviewing, you need to keep editing, and then believe me, it's always worth it because today I have the job and I'm sponsored. So that's my story, and I hope it's been able to help one of us. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your experience. I just want to ask a few questions here. Number one, you talked about the DWP, the Department of Education, and one other. How did you get those links? Can you please share that with us so that people can note that down and also go look into those websites?
Okay, so I'll look for that now, and I'll just look for it as we're talking, and I'll post it in the chat.
All right, thank you. That's one. Number two, can you help us? Someone is asking a question. Said, must I have a degree in IT? If no, what certifications can I do, please? I know it's a bit ambiguous, but let's look at how we can help the person.
I don't think you need to have a degree in IT to get IT jobs. I think nowadays people basically just want to know what you can do, not really what you studied. Well, fine, what you studied helps. For instance, I have a software engineer on my team who is doing service management today, and it's quite interesting. But it was easy for him to get a job simply because he had done an IT job. That's true. But guess what? Two other persons on my team were from completely non-tech backgrounds. You understand? And so they didn't need to have an IT degree. They only just need to have a degree. So once you have a degree, you're fine. But in terms of certifications, you may now need to look at what role you're applying for to determine which certification will suit what you're applying for. So like I mentioned, in my own role, which is service management, the certification there is the ITIL. That's ITIL. And you can just go to PeopleCert or Google ITIL certifications. The vendors, or I can also drop that link. I'll look for that if you want to do IT sales management. You can register. It's pretty. You need to actually attend some trainings, but it's not that difficult if you're particular about it. So ITIL is for IT service management, and there are about different grades or different levels to it. If you're going to project management, of course, we know the project management ones, the PMPs of this world, um, I think another one that is around, I've forgotten the name of this one that's all over the place, but most of the general certifications that like I said earlier, as long as you have a transferable skill, it doesn't have to be an IT skill. You can bring it into IT. So the certifications that apply should definitely apply in IT as well. Right.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll just add this to what you've said, though a little bit different, but I'm adding to what you've said. What I discovered about the NHS, and this is for those of us who have invested in studying IT at master's degree level, either data science, software, networking, cybersecurity. Every NHS job I see, they have what we call most jobs anyway, they have the desirable, they have the essential. So I'm trying to remember again. But when you have a master's in any IT related field, it puts you into that category of the desirable, which is higher than the essential. So when they are shortlisting candidates, because of that, they will likely reach out to you because you have the essential skills and you also have a little bit of the desirable skills. So the next thing will now be for you to justify what you've written in your CV and your cover letter during the interview process. So understand that there are some jobs that will give you, you'll have some advantages just because you made them to know. They don't care about what you scored, or nobody asked me what I had in my master's degree. But for the fact that that is there also, it helped me and it was a plus also. So there are some jobs like that, but there are some jobs that they don't care your background. There are some that it just gives you an edge. So like you said, focus on your strength and put, go all out and ensure that your CV, you keep improving on it. Then the other one, your question on the degree in IT and certifications, my plan is that we're still going to come up with another webinar that is going to help those who want to transition into IT. I've had, since I got to the UK last year also, I've had many people call me, talk to me, they want to move into IT. How do they start? What will they do? So I can assure you that is a plan I have in place. That might be the next session after this or before the end of January, to have another session where we can help first timers, those who just want to step in. How should you step in so that you don't waste so much time and money, and at the same time you get value for your money, and at the same time you don't get bogus hopes? Because I'll give you an example. Sometimes somebody asks me who just wants to start into IT, how do I get an IT job with visa sponsorship? So the thing is that you have not even started IT job yet. So you need to get your leg in, understand what you are doing. Then you can apply for a job that has visa sponsorship. So that's why I'm saying don't allow people to give you, don't allow someone to just give you a high hope, that might not really work. So please take note of that. We're going to have that later on. Then I'm seeing a question. Someone is asking me for a CV, that can we share CV? Well, if you want to see what's on our CV, you can simply go to our LinkedIn profile. I think you'll have a lot, but this is what I encourage. If you want to apply for a role and you want to touch up your CV, try and look up the profile of a lot of people on LinkedIn who are occupying that role and use that to pick up what you can add. Because there are a lot of things I tell you we all do, but we don't know that we can coin them properly, to get jobs. There were a lot of things I did in Nigeria that I didn't know had a great value until I got to the UK. It was when I was reading through different people's CV, looking through requirements on the job, that I realized that I had a lot I had done that I can present better. So by simply studying more and asking questions, you will learn a lot that you can tailor to your CV that will be personalized. And most of the time, if anybody goes online to check out all these things, they are not going to see them on popular website there. And that is safer and better for you in the long run. So that's what I have. I don't know if anyone else has any question before we round up. We have just a few minutes. Or peradventure, maybe anyone has any contribution. Okay, then the last one, let me go to the issue of the community I'm talking about. Maybe I'll throw that open to anyone, to anyone or whatever will feel about this. I'm considering a stronger and a better community for networking purpose. I mean, a situation where if you have a role, you're applying for a role I'm already occupying, you can reach out to me. I wrote down all the interview questions. I wrote them down somewhere. I can share them with you. If you have something you're going for that is in line with what our second speaker, Olawale, has discussed with us, I mean, we can reach out to him. He can share experiences that can build your confidence and also help you. Then maybe other jobs or other vital information. So I'm looking at that and I'm throwing that open. Is it necessary? Is it something we would like? Should we adopt it, or should we just still make it an open and a general platform as it is? Please, if you have any contribution, you can unmute and just tell us that within a few seconds. Anybody, please feel free.
Can I ask a question, Flavi?
Yeah, Ron, please go ahead.
Yeah. So when I'm applying for some jobs, I see that they're asking, do you need visa sponsorship now or in the future? So how should we answer this? Because it can get filtered, our CV from that, right?
Okay, that's why I recommend NHS, DWP, more of government. I'm going to allow Lawali to answer that, because they don't, a lot of their own jobs, they don't ask that. Then when you're looking at jobs, those are the things you should also look at before you even apply. So when the website I shared, that's the findajob.dwp.com, which I shared earlier on, I found out that a lot of the jobs that were there were not asking me that silly question. Because most of the time when they ask you and you say yes, especially on LinkedIn, they are going to deny you and they won't even call you up for the next phase. So they don't know what it takes to be in the UK and how much tens of thousands of pounds that a lot of us have spent to move our families down here. So that's why I share this website, findajob.dwp. You find out that a lot of the government jobs, they will not ask you this question. They will never ask you. NHS England will never ask you that question for most of their IT jobs. So I strongly recommend, this website, and also NHS Scotland also. So I don't know if Olawale has anything to add to that. Please feel free and,
No, I think you're spot on. You've said most of it. You're right. They wouldn't ask that question of now or in the future. And I think you can actually get more or less any job in the civil service space as long as you're qualified. As of now, that's one thing I observed. Any job, even people who has gotten jobs higher than my level, I was like, wow, interesting. Yeah, as long as you're qualified. So there's not that worry. If you're what's it called? If you need sponsorship, it doesn't for them. It doesn't matter because once you have a right to work, you're good to go for them. So I've posted the links on the chat. I don't know if you've seen it. So for the civil service jobs link, I've dropped it. So just if you're interested in IT jobs, just search with tech and put your location there. You'd see the various ones. But I also have the link where I saw some of the roles I applied to in DWP is the first one because that's directly from DWP itself. And I think that's a bit similar to find a job as well. But we can just explore those links. It should help.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Andre.
very much. Then I want to add something. Somebody dropped a question here that he has worked for 8 companies, so compressing the CV is a hard job. It's not hard. If I show you an example of my CV, before coming here, I worked in 3 companies in Nigeria, but I only put one in front. That's the one I built most of my CV and my cover letter around. That's the last company where I work. In fact, it is what I did there that occupies about 70% of what is in my CV. Every other company, I'm just putting the name, the job title, and I just put just one thing there. So for you, you really don't have to put everything because there's no space for that. You can put just 1 or 2, but make sure the 1 or 2 there, what they want to see is the 1 or 2 that you are putting forward. What did you do? Does it relate with what we want you for here? Is it applicable? Are you going to be able to do this job? So eliminate irrelevancies in your resume as much as possible. So eliminate irrelevancies so that you can have space for relevant information that your recruiter is looking for that will interest the recruiter. So that was what I did. In my other companies, it was just a line I put in what I did. Every other thing, I had to delete it. And I retained just one company and I filled it up with a lot of jobs and a lot of practical examples. and it worked for me. It got me the job. Thank you. Any other? Okay. So any other question, please, quickly. Okay, we're out of time
Yeah, so
already.
I
Uh,
yeah, I just wanted to add to. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
go ahead, please. No problem. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what you've said from the perspective of having so many like you've worked with several companies. Yeah, so you mentioned the key point, which is to focus on the relevant um the experiences or the achievements that are relevant to the role. That's important. But you also need to ensure that your CV is not too bogus, so to say. You don't want to have, like you mentioned, to try to, as much as possible, make sure that it's just maybe a page instead of it. But you also need to mention the companies you've worked for, because if there are gaps and you don't explain those gaps, they would think that you've gone out of you were out of jobs for industry, and that'll be a lot of explanation. So mention all of them. It's important. But like he has said, you don't just have to put a lot of stories or achievements under them. You can focus on the relevant ones, or the ones that are the earliest jobs you've had. Just focus on that and build on those ones. But you need to also mention the other jobs, so that I'm just trying to emphasize that you also need to mention the other jobs, so that
What
they
gaps
they won't have questions around what happened. Yeah, the
between?
gaps in between. Yes.
All right, thank you for that. So I can see someone's comment someone is encouraging that we continue to hold this regularly. So that's part of our plans. Courtesy of Africans and Inverclyde, Peace House YDC, where I'm getting this Zoom link from to accommodate a high number of guests. So I can assure you, within the next few weeks again, we're going to put up something again like this for starters and for those who still need further help in getting jobs with visa sponsorship or some other questions we can have. We ask for your cooperation. When you see the link, share the link. When you have questions, you can ask us questions. When you have contributions, we're willing to listen to you. So someone is sending me a question. Said, what band in NHS IT do you think we can easily get? I think I spoke on that later on. If you're a starter, start from the list, like desktop support, IT support, desktop technicians. Most of the time, they are usually band 3 or band 4. So with that, though you have more applicants at that level, and that's why your resume should stand out, but you can start from there if you know that you don't have so much experience. So as for creating the platform, I think we're going to get back to you. Maybe we have something on, I don't know, maybe Telegram or WhatsApp. We'll create something and we'll allow people to join so that we can share more information and we can be able to, meet better. But that's all we have today. I appreciate every one of us for joining from England, from Scotland, as you can see someone from London over there. She's been in the UK for quite a number of years and, she's still joining. This is our own small meeting, but thank you. How do you present several roles to the promotion from the same company on your CV? I'll just quickly say, just focus on what is relevant, what the job needs. So tailor your CV to what the job needs. If it matches, fine. If it doesn't, just remove it. When you get to the interview, you will have opportunities to present yourself better. So I want to appreciate every one of us for joining. I would like to appreciate our second speaker, Olawale, for taking time out. I just informed him a few days ago. Thank you very much for honoring our invitation. And for everyone who joined from Africans in Inverclyde Group, from Dundee, from London, from different parts of United Kingdom, thank you very much for coming. I wish us the best in our career, and I hope to see us again in our next session. We're not going to talk about care workers. I'm sorry. Our focus for now is IT. I'm sorry. We're going to talk about IT alone for now. All right. Sorry about that, but that's our focus, and that's the invitation right from time. Thank you very much for your time. I hope to see us again. Thank you.